broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Wow, look at that. Some sweet Joe Dante theme music from Gremlins.
Yeah.
Leading us in to the AfterBuzz recap show for Legends of Tomorrow. I'm one of your hosts, Frank Moran.
That's such a change of tone.
That's right.
I thought someone came in and went like, "Of tomorrow."
Tomorrow.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
I'm one of your hosts, Frank Moran. You can follow me on Twitter on Happy Go Jackie. Yeah, why not? With Happy Go Jackie.
Yeah, with
or,
Happy Go Jackie.
Or just at Happy Go Jackie.
They can find you along with your handle.
That's
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
yes. But I'm joined by three fantastic people that are going to help me break down this latest episode. Right here on my immediate left.
Immediate left. I am Lex Michael, all over social media at the Lex Michael. There's my camera. Hello. Yes, indeed.
Okay, I'll just move on to me. Lex is having a great time looking at himself. I'm Dave Child. You can find me at Mr. Dave Child on the Twitter and the Instagram and davechild.com.
And I'm filling in tonight, but my Twitter handle is, if you can spell it right, LACRETIALYON.
That is,
Because there's only one.
did
But-
you
but
bring
wait.
your pen? Did you bring your pen?
Take
when you
notes,
decided
but
to listen to
what's your name? What's your name, though?
Yeah, Lacretia Lyon.
There we go. There it is.
Yeah, all right,
now I know
all
who you are.
There you go.
I remember.
I was like, did I not say it?
We've
I just
met
spell it.
before.
I'm just so used to spelling it.
That's how I just meet people.
Yeah.
I just spell my
We
name
obviously
instantly.
drank
Hi, I'm DABE.
beforehand. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll be breaking down episode 8, Night of the Hawks.
Night of the
Yeah.
Hawks.
Night of the Hawks. Hawk Night.
Night of the
There you
Hawks.
go. So, quick impressions, everybody.
I'm gonna start because I actually love this episode. I think this was the best episode of the season so far, I would say.
Really?
Which, yes, I had a lot of fun watching this. I feel like they had a lot of fun making it. I feel like it had the least amount of holes for plot-wise in it. That was my opinion, at least. We could talk about it later, but I felt like everyone had a job to do that made sense. Everyone brought the weapon along with them when they needed to, and those are all really nice things to see in the show because that doesn't often happen, as we've talked about in previous episodes. But this one was like fun. I like the little nod towards old horror movies. I think it was named after Night of the Creeps, which was a nice little. It's a great like 80s horror movie, but that's about 50s horror movies, made by the guy that did Monster Squad. So it has all these like, I don't know, nods towards classic horror stuff, and it was just fun. It was also nice to see someone like time travel and actually have to deal with racism, or a British person changing his accent in order to fit in, because I feel like that doesn't happen all the time. So I feel like that all that stuff was really nice. So I enjoyed it.
I'm with you. I had a lot of fun with this episode. I agree that as a self-contained piece, it is a very solid hour of TV until we get to the very end, and there's some stuff that makes me go, wait, what?
Right.
But I really liked everything, Dave, that you just mentioned. I really appreciated that finally Kendra has something to do beyond remind people that she used to be a barista.
Yes.
And I will actually go a step further and say I was so much less bothered by the romance between her and Ray this episode than I was in the episode previous. I think they actually did a very good job at building the chemistry between the two of them, which is ironic because their entire mission was their relationship as a cover. But I really liked the way that they were able to build on this, what seemed like a very forced romantic premise, build on it effectively. My issue, if I have one with the episode, is not so much with the episode itself. It's a problem that I've been having with the past few weeks on the show, is that as solid as it is as a self-contained story, it didn't feel to me like it did very much to forward the arc of the season. And I feel like now we're halfway through the season, and I'm still not feeling much of a sense of forward momentum, which is the biggest issue that I have, not just with tonight's episode, but with the season as a whole so far.
All right.
Okay.
Lucretia, what do you think?
Honestly, I have to disagree. I really, there were parts of this episode I like because I'm a big horror movie buff. I loved all the little references, and to me, when I was so excited when Snart and Rip came in, dressed like FBI agents, really fringe Twin Peaks-esque, and then they didn't go with that a lot of the episode.
Right.
And I was just kind of disappointed because that would have been more interesting. And yeah, I'm still in the Ray Kendra thing is just a little too soon. And to me, I love Ray Palmer, and I think he needs a lady who's not destined for somebody else. He needs his own girl. And yes, they have chemistry, and they're both very attractive people. They look great together. But it's still like, we know this isn't going to end well.
I mean, with Ray and his loved ones, it doesn't tend to end well, even in the comics, right?
Well, well, his wife, killed Sue Dibney, Ralph Dibney's wife. So just shrunk down and just stomped around in her brain, killed her.
Right.
Then set fire to her body. Way to go, Gene Loring. Way to go.
Where's that episode?
That's an identity crisis.
That's the identity crisis
yes,
right there.
That was written by Brad Meltzer. All right, so we're going to be breaking down this episode, but if you want to join in on the conversation there, Lacretia is manning the live chat. So feel free to chime in with your thoughts and opinions. Lacretia will be filling us in on what you folks are thinking as we're breaking it down. Like us on iTunes there. Follow us there on Twitter as well. So we'll just, before we start breaking up into the individual storylines, we'll just set up the premise of the episode there. It's 1958. We're in Harmony Falls, Oregon. We just see a couple drag racing things happening there, and they get into a little crash. They happen just conveniently crashed by a meteorite.
Right.
And they run into Vandal Savage.
Yeah.
And
it's destiny, guys.
It's okay. So it's the 1950s, and obviously they haven't had as many decades of horror cinema to prep them for what to do in a situation like this. But when you see the weird glowing meteor, the first thing you do is don't go near the glowing meteor. The second thing you do is don't talk to the creepy man hanging out by the glowing meteor.
Right. That's true.
Very true. And
although for some people, if you touch a glowing meteor, you get superpowers.
I feel like that only happened in Chronicle.
Right. Okay. All right. But that also happens in, I feel like there's...
Meteor Man.
Meteor Man?
Okay. All right. I stand corrected.
One of the most important superhero epics to ever happen. And, sometimes you get, like, alien armor from it. There's, like, there's moments where you get, and often you get alien slugs that turn you into zombies.
Okay, but you've cited we've cited at least two concrete examples of the counter argument to point one. Fine. I don't know that there's a counter argument to don't talk to the creepy man by the glowing meteor.
No, yeah, that's a guarantee.
He's definitely up to no good.
And I don't understand why he takes his Tommy and his two buddies, but he doesn't take Betty, the girlfriend of Tommy, there, who's just kind of like dazed in the car. Kind of just leaves her behind. Why not just take everybody if you're going to experiment them?
I think Savage is a little sexist. I think after, he is from ancient Egypt, and I feel like maybe he still has lingering sexist thoughts, and he wants to build an army of birdmen. Apparently, or he wants to experiment with these and see if he's able to get any powers from it. So he took the stronger of the group, which was
Dave. It's a little sexist of you.
I'm
right
not
there.
saying
Come
it's
on.
what I believe. It's what Savage believes.
Maybe it's a little bit of the point that was brought up in Deadpool about, well, is it more or less sexist if I don't hit you? So is it more or less sexist if Vandal Savage doesn't experiment on this girl? My only thought, if we're not trying to break the character of Vandal Savage completely, is maybe he's going, yes, there's the physical stature of the boys is greater than that of the girl, but also
physical stature of the boys is greater than that of the girl.
But I could also totally see Vandal Savage going, I have my army of hawk men, and the only hawk woman is my beloved Shiara.
Right.
And see, that's what I was going to go with, is I think he only likes black chicks.
Well,
it's like, no, I'm going to leave her. She doesn't need to be a hawk woman.
There you go.
He's one of those strange white Egyptians that seem to happen in most of media. So, he's looking for people that actually look more Egyptian, I think.
So we have our cast. They return back to 1958 Harmony Falls there, and they kind of figured this is where Savage is. They kind of suspect that there might be a serial killer happening. So what they do is they break into our three plot lines for the episode. They kind of split up. We've got Jack's going undercover, exploring those high school situations there. Yes. We've got Ray and Kendra posing as new homeowners. They're in a neighborhood who they're not very welcome to.
Yeah.
And then we've got Snart and Rory posing as FBI agents, and then Sarah and Stein posing as a doctor and nurse at a psychiatric hospital.
Right. So maybe we should talk about like a bit of the racism they had to fight in this one.
So it's like, I'm really glad that they didn't shy away from the fact that in a Pleasantville-esque town in the 50s, anyone who's not super white is going to make people turn their heads. To that point, I'm wondering why they decided to send Jax off on his own to talk to all of these people.
Okay, now I believe that just because he's the youngest looking guy, and they honestly, it made sense that they had to have a teenage mole of some sort.
Absolutely, but you don't send anybody to keep an eye on him?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he can, they have faith that he could hold his own, but...
And he did well, because he did well.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And then with Kendra and Ray, and it was really just seems so forced to me, because it's like, okay, you want them to fit in. They're not going to fit in. I'm
surprised they didn't make... Yeah, if they were trying to figure out, like, one person has to be a nurse, one person has to be, like, married. If they wanted to fit in and not cause any trouble, then they probably would be a bit more stereotypical. But then they wouldn't have to build up the Ray stuff, and I really liked the stuff with White Canary in the
I don't, just for character reasons, I think the way they split everybody up makes the most sense. But again, it's like we saw the way that people at the party were reacting to Ray and Kendra as a couple, and whether or not we now in 2016 can look at the way these people are reacting and go, wow, this is so archaic and gross and dumb that they're reacting this way. Still, the whole point was to be incognito. You now have everybody in the room looking at you.
Well, again, it's another example, I think, of Ray being a terrible leader. Because everybody else from 2016 may not think about, like, the 1950s context, how we're acting. But Rip, as a time traveler, should know, like, hey, guys, we're in the 50s now. Right. Let's not try to be too obvious.
Rip also did not get anyone who could be subtle in the team. The only one is possibly White Canary. She's possibly the only one who can actually
occasionally Martin Stein. When he gets to wear a beret.
Yeah, but even he's also, but he's still like acts when he's incognito. He's like an 8th grader who's incognito because he's just like, I'm to have a beret. I'm definitely a spy.
I'm meant to be here.
So we've got Ray and Kendra. They go undercover as homeowners. They're newly in love, so they're enjoying this idea of playing house together. And decide, like, hey, we're still going to stay in this terrible neighborhood, even though you're a racist real estate agent. But then they find out that their neighbor happens to be Dr. Knox, who's really no other than Dr. Vandal Savage. Yeah. Or not even a doctor, he's just Vandal Savage.
I don't think he has also a doctorate at all.
He's immortal. I'm sure he has a few PhDs under his belt. He's probably a doctor by now, even if it's like an honorary doctor.
That's true. Very true.
When you're immortal, I think you're allowed.
And he brings tuna casserole.
Right.
Yeah. Which apparently is good.
And a haircut, by the way. This whole episode, he has like very short hair. He doesn't have the long locks like he does in the future,
and a little bit more subdued.
Yeah.
Than he's kind of over like scenery chewing kind of self that he has.
And he's got a wife prop.
Yes.
I guess.
A beard?
Yeah, right.
It's probably an
evil beard.
He's got 2 beards.
I'm definitely not immortal. Look at my wife. What immortal has a wife?
Watch her age. Look. But also, so you mentioned the tuna casserole. So this raises a number of questions to me, depending on which way we go.
Really?
It was one hell of a casserole.
This is the one thing I couldn't get over is the tuna casserole.
No. But I'm going. Okay, so we see Ray eating the tuna casserole that was given to him by an immortal genocidal maniac. First of all,
tested it for.
First of all, I wouldn't eat the immortal genocidal maniac's tuna casserole. I feel like that's a bad call. However, we see Ray eat the tuna casserole, and he's completely fine, which then to me suggests that we missed out on a wonderful scene of Vandal Savage making tuna casserole.
It could have been his wife too, and he just carried it over. So that's the case,
Right. I'm also wondering if he would just bring the casserole to any of his neighbors that came over. Maybe he noticed it was Kendra and was like, oh, I should bring her a casserole. Or maybe it's just like, we have new neighbors. Time to make my famous casserole taught to me by Julius Caesar.
Or back in the day. Or maybe in his greatest act of evil of all, it's store-bought, and he's passing it off as his own.
That sounds like a Vandal Savage.
Yeah, that's right.
But not in the 50s. I don't think the 50s had store-bought casserole at that point.
That's true. You probably would have to find like
Yeah, they didn't have Whole Foods.
or like
then.
you
wife.
pay a neighbor to
The
make
trophy
it.
wife made a trophy casserole.
The evil, the evil beard. Made the casserole.
Well, two things that I thought when Vandal shows up and he says, "Hey guys, we're having a party tonight, a soiree at our place at 8 o'clock tonight. Come on in. The door's unlocked." I first thought it was going to be some kind of weird key party, like some eyes wide shut.
I was literally like, oh man, I wish Rory was here. He really likes that movie.
That was like 20 years later. More popular in the 70s, back when my parents were married.
Right.
But then the other thing is that when they open
hold on. Did we just paved right over the fact that you just talked about your parents were swingers?
Probably.
Probably.
Weird.
That tracks. Totally.
I have a lot of siblings.
Yeah.
There's a lot of siblings running around. I never really asked about it. They're all from different
Is
families.
this an AfterBuzz exclusive?
Yes.
It's an
Okay.
AfterBuzz exclusive.
Sorry,
You
Thanks,
see
James.
what my name is.
Fair enough.
But then I guess we get the answer later in the episode. But I did wonder at that moment when Savage sees Kendra why there wasn't that immediate like flashes of like I see a hawk goddess in my mind and all that kind of stuff where he doesn't have that recognition. I guess it seems like he's slow playing it.
Yeah,
he
well-
recognizes her, but he doesn't want to reveal it yet.
They answered that right away, which was kind of nice, because I thought of that at first, but then Kendra said, like, okay, he doesn't know that I know him. So that was enough to be like, he thinks I don't have my powers yet,
Right.
which is why I don't recognize him, so we're enough undercover that we can play, and why I'm not getting killed immediately by him. Which is good. I like that, because it was enough of a reason to keep it going, to keep Vandal Savage alive. I always forget that they lost that knife, which is the only way.
But the only thing though is like when they in the very first episode when they meet him, they travel back to the 70s. He hasn't met them yet, and senses her presence when they're at the arms deal.
Right.
So and he hasn't seen her before yet. So why doesn't that same rule apply to in the 50s?
Well, I feel like he does recognize her. But
Yeah.
he's not making a move yet
Yes.
because there's nothing for him to play if she doesn't have her powers yet, and if he doesn't know that she doesn't have the what you get it.
Apparently, we are finding out. We are kind of just finding out in this episode that he can only kind of drink her life juice. If I'm sorry, that just came out of my mouth the way it did. Unless
juice.
she needs to have her wings in order to have the life juice. Apparently, so in the first episode, he sees her with Hawkman as well. So when they're kind of together, then I think he can kind of assume that all the wings are out.
Right.
So
When
life
she's
juice
alone,
gives you wings.
But it's like but it's like if you're not awakened, for lack of a better term, if you ain't woke, then there's nothing for him to gain yet. So
Right.
if she plays it like she's completely unaware of her own power, she doesn't recognize him, there's no reason for him to go after her directly and immediately because he stands to gain nothing in that moment.
right?
There we go.
All right. Thank you.
Like made myself cross-eyed the first
that.
time trying to explain.
Yeah. And I do you mentioned that he's subdued in this episode. I think that made me like Vandal Savage a lot.
Yes.
Because seeing him with crazy eyes but saying normal things is the best. Is my favorite.
Every
Vandal
so
Way
Savage.
more
often,
interesting.
Every so
Yeah.
often too, his line delivery will remind me a little bit of Christoph Waltz.
Yes, he has a lot of that. Maybe it's just his accent, but
It could be the accent when he's not chewing the scenery.
everything very deliberately. And when you do that, you automatically sound German. Even though I'm not doing an accent, I'm just announcing everything very precisely.
It seems like you're in pain a little.
I know, that's also very German. To always be in pain and angst.
Angst.
And ennui. I think you just mentioned something.
Immediate left turn.
Yeah, immediate left
Yes.
turn. About how you mentioned that Red Bull gives you wings, which we are not brought to you by Red Bull.
Yeah.
But we may have just discovered that the meteor is made out of Red Bull.
Oh,
which
really?
is
okay.
because that seems like what Vandal Savage is doing.
And that seems what Red Bull would want to be associated with. So
Right.
kind of vampiric hawk monsters.
yeah, drink Red Bull, you'll become a
We
giant
know why
hog
it's
monster.
bad now.
All of your
Vandal
teeth will
Savage
become
created
one
it.
big
Yes.
tooth in the front of your
Yeah.
mouth.
Yeah.
Red Bull.
Yeah. So we find that Savage, who's also a doctor hanging out at the psychiatric hospital, while he's away at the hospital, Kendra and Ray do a little rear window moment there where Ray shrinks down and heads into the house.
That I also okay. I also like that a lot because it showed them using the suit in the appropriate suit way.
Yes.
He actually was like, how are we going to get in there? They didn't forget that they have a guy that can shrink down and sneak into any place.
I agree with you completely. And this didn't bug me in the context of this episode. This is something that I'm hoping does not bug me going forward. In the last episode, we watched as Kendra, the woman with hawk powers, ripped the suit into pieces.
Right.
And this week, it works just fine. I never want to hear that the suit doesn't work ever again.
Right, because it seems like they have it all fixed.
That's it. I agree with you completely.
Right.
I really like the fact that it was used to the effect that it was used to in this episode.
Didn't break down at all in this episode.
Right.
Which was nice.
If we can literally tear pieces off of the thing and next week we're fine, I want the suit to work from now on.
The one thing, since we're on the suit, and this is jumping ahead a little bit, but everyone's watched the show, but the one thing they could have done with the suit is made him small and like back up Kendra that way in the hospital later at the end of the episode, instead of pretending to be like a crazy patient.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense.
Where he just has the cannon on his hand, which was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. At least he has the cannon on his hands. At least he still has his gun part. But you could have hidden anywhere in that room.
Yeah.
And jumped up, held Vandal Savage back, and then get him stabbed.
Kendall had to be like, no, I can do it on my own.
Right, I guess that's why.
Yeah.
Like, no man has to be in that room.
But it's like the detour with Ray and Rip as the patients did seem very, very strange to me in general. Like, why was that the plan?
Why were they there? I mean, they could have done something else other than be right there.
In a world where Rip and Snart already convinced the same officer they run into that they work for the Bureau, why don't they show back up and say, hey, it's us again. We still work for the Bureau. Let us look around.
Right.
Makes way more sense.
The other thing that bummed me about in that episode,
I just want to break. I'm sorry, but we are getting what's her name? Kartrick Seraph put hashtag Ray's suit slightly sucks. That's the hashtag. Okay, continue. I'm
And
sorry.
we have another good hashtag from her. Red Bull gives you talons.
Yeah, that's good.
there you go. The one thing that disappointed me there when Ray is there and Savage is locked a little office there is that would have been a great place to plant some seeds for future episodes and other time periods that he'd been in. Like if you'd seen old photographs from like the Wild West or something like that, something that gives them clues for other time periods that Savage has been in where they know exactly where to go to find him. Just a way to give him a couple more minutes in that room to kind of find another things. It would have been a good way to plant some seeds for future time travel destinations.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
They did not do that.
Like, or Ray could take Vandal's copy of Action Comics #1 to the future and sell it for a whole lot of money.
No, that's not how you do it. You bring it to a safe deposit box. You leave it there. A bank that will remain. You bring the key with you to the future. You open up that safe deposit box. It should still be there and be old because people could test
that's a good point.
and see how old it is. And so they'll know it's worth that much money. That's exactly if I time travel, that's how I'm going to make my money, is find Action Comics 1 and do that with Action Comics 1. Yeah. That's my big plan. I've been thinking about this for years.
But if you time travel and do that, you might ruin comic books forever. Do you realize that?
No, just one Action Comics #1 I can get at the drugstore. It probably won't affect time as much because it'll just be one that I'll take to a safe deposit box, leave it there.
It's a butterfly effect, Dave. What about that person that was going to buy that copy goes on and needed that motivation
and
becomes
becomes Vandal Savage and destroys the
Hot
planet.
tub time machine. I mean,
It was going
I
to be
would
like
make Google. It's still
Kevin
be
Smith's copy that he got, or
Yep, and that's it. No, there you go.
man.
No more rest for you.
Maybe for the best.
All right, so as we talk about Dr. Savage,
That's Sandy.
No, that's is
we're
great.
talking about Dr. Savage is posing as Dr. Knox. There, we do have. We'll talk about another storyline. Sarah and Stein hanging at the psychiatric hospital. So Sarah just crabby this whole episode. She's not liking the way the doctors are just being kind of rampantly sexist towards all the nurses.
Right.
because she's a bigger badass than all the guys, and she showed it in this episode.
Yeah. She's also in the 50s, so she has to deal with being in the 50s.
And just alluding to Stein that she could really torture him for days.
Yes.
Learn all these great techniques from Ra's al Ghul.
For days.
Also, I do. Yeah, with the hand wave thing.
Yes.
I also did appreciate, and I believe it was the same. This is when they're at the diner. Yes, when that little exchange happens.
Right.
I do appreciate that while Stein is having his little reverie about how idyllic the time was, they point out, because you're a white straight dude.
Yeah.
Yes.
This time
That's
was
great.
not great for anyone else.
That was great to hear. I feel like you don't hear about that in time travel enough.
Yeah.
And so it was great, except on the internet. But
except all the time travel articles.
plenty of people brought it up on the internet. But yeah. It was perfect for this. And I like that storyline with her and finding a love interest, because I think she's especially someone who's, kind of, I always knew she was going to be the one kind of sleeping her way through time. And it was nice to have this moment where she meets someone, has a connection with her, and feels like conflicting feelings about the whole relationship after she officially seduced her, and seducing enough to kiss at least.
Well, as she said, I'm liberating her with an option to seduce her later.
Right.
Yeah,
That was
I
a
like
great
that.
line.
Yeah.
But we realized that she's still having kind of some after effects from her resurrection, where she feels a little
feelings.
Yes, it doesn't feel comfortable having these kind of human connections and
Well, the
emotions.
thing about feelings, is that sometimes you feel things.
It makes you feel things,
and you can make other people feel things too.
That was okay. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, I know, from fans. But
All right, lay it on, Dave.
I feel like that was that one speech. I like this episode a lot, but that one speech was, "Oh, this is on the CW." I forgot we were on the CW.
It's like,
for
yeah,
a
the little-
second.
Feelings.
The little voice jumping up and down, waving guitar, like, "Hey, CW, hey!"
Hey, we're learning a lesson about feeling things, and I was like, okay, all right. I mean, I like what she was actually dealing with. It was just the speech itself was a bit on the nose.
There's so many instances, and I won't just point the finger at this show. In all of film and television, you can come across so many instances of something like that to me plays really awkward, that I think all you need is to just hold for a second on the face of another character, being like, eh? And it saves that entire moment completely. Like, this is relevant, I swear. There's a moment in Avengers Age of Ultron where Scarlet Witch has the line about, he will do anything to make things right. And it's a really awkward line, and it's a very awkward moment, and the camera just holds on Cap for a second. Just blank face, like, And then the movie keeps going. I feel like we needed a moment like that after the, well, feelings are feelings because you feel stuff and other people feel stuff too. Just cut to Stein going,
What?
and then we can move
Well
on.
said.
Do what now?
There was a moment like that in this episode with Stein, where Stein says one of his very written lines that he tends to say, where, he just uses the third vocabulary word you would think of to say, hey, why don't you do that?
Right.
Yeah.
And then Jack says, why don't you just say, why don't you do that?
Right.
Which was kind of nice to see, because every time Stein talks a lot, it kind of feels like it has that, like, okay, you really looked at a thesaurus to figure out what to say there.
And I just love that Jax is getting so much better. He's getting more of a personality and more of a story. Because, I loved him calling out Stein. And that was a really funny moment for Stein, too. He's like, well,
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Jax, we'll talk about our other third storyline. We got Jax, and we start him at the beginning of the episode where he's just kind of doing subtle digs at Snart about, like, Rory being missing. And, like, hey, Rory got cut from the team. What happened to Rory? So even from the beginning, we just see a little bit more of him just kind of pushing back against what's been happening.
And
Right.
I do appreciate, since you brought that up specifically, I do appreciate that there is a moment where Snart could either have killed Hawk Monster Jax, or they could have abandoned him there, and they chose not to, and that shifts Jax's opinion about Snart. And they have the dialogue, the conversational exchange at the end of the episode. It did feel a little bit quick, this change of heart that he had, this what feels to me like a very big change of heart that Jax had regarding Snart, and it felt a little bit like, well, I was a Hawk Monster for like 2 days, so I get you now, dude.
Now, do you feel
I've
that,
been a monster.
that Snart has been upfront about what he did with Rory, or he's done something with Rory and he hasn't exactly been upfront about exactly what he's done with the rest of the team?
I think that, he is alive. I don't see him doing that because he obviously cared about Mick, and he wouldn't have just killed him. He might have froze him and kept him somewhere, or, just left him there. But I don't think he killed him. And it kind of bothered me that Jax is the only one to say something about it. It's like, why is Ray not? I mean, but I guess because he's all up Kendra's butt now. But he and Mick had that little bromance for one episode.
Well, I gotta feel like the only place that he could do that has got to be in 2016, because Snart has to feel like that's the one guaranteed spot he'd know he's hopefully going to get back to for sure. Any other time period, you're not very guaranteed that you're going to end up at that same spot.
Right, but he himself also argued against leaving Mick in 2016 for a number of reasons.
Exactly.
And now, granted, we cut away after Snart fires the ice weapon, and we don't see where he really fires it. We cut away. So there very easily could have been a conversation where it's like Rory's like all clenched up expecting to die, and then he looks and like the ground next to him is frozen, and Snart's like, I'm not going to kill you, but don't kill anyone I like. Maybe, but I feel like, I mean, we're not going to find this out for a while, and it's a little bit like...
I feel like what could have happened easily was, even if they don't freeze him entirely, I feel like he froze his leg, his hand, something to keep him, excuse the pun, on ice, so that when they can come back, because they know that they're time traveling, I feel like they could come back to 2016 and be like, all right, we're done. Let's thaw you out. We can work again. I just needed you to calm down.
The image that I had when you said that in my hand is like, because Snart went out and did that alone. It's like he comes back. I took care of him. Here's his frozen hand.
Oh, jeez.
Well, a lot of people are speculating that he's Kronos. Ivan Soto was mentioning it, and I saw a few, other pieces of chat
That would
earlier.
actually be really interesting. But my big question right now, and I want to ask all of you guys, what do you think the rest of the team thinks happened? Because Snart makes the comment about, well, there's only one person I trusted in that position. We all know what happened there, but we don't. Does anyone on the ship think they know what happened there?
I mean, I feel like they all came to some kind of consensus about what to do with Rory. Whether Snart actually did that is, I feel like he's not going to play all his cards to that team yet.
What's kind of weird is we don't know either of those things, though. We don't know what consensus they came to. Like, we get the sense that they're hinting at the fact that he killed like Rory, but none of us really believe it.
Well, and there's no way that the team would be like cool with him killing Rory either. No, none of them would be like, go ahead and kill him. So I believe death is certainly not something that they would have been like, Snart, get rid of him, kill him.
It feels like everyone was just like, he disappeared somehow. Are we not talking, like, I think Jax has a moment where he talks about that. Like, are we not talking about the fact he just disappeared out of the way?
If I remember correctly, tonight what he was saying was like, are we not going to talk about the fact that Rory was on the team and now he's gone?
Oh, right.
Gone.
Very...
He's just...
right.
Well, we also have Jax, turning back him. He also kind of introduces a little to this Betty, the student, the girlfriend of Tommy, who's disappeared. But the whole dunking your French fries in your milkshake, just blowing her mind right there.
Also, apparently the least racist person in town.
Yeah, just a real 180 from everybody else in Harmony Falls.
That makes sense. There's got to be a few non-racists. Like, not everyone is racist during that time. I'm sure there was a couple of adventurous people that were like,
but
I'm a normal person.
So while they're in the diner and they have that interaction, a couple of her high school guys come over and they start giving her a hard time, giving Jax a hard time.
Right.
Jax stands up to them, and they get waved off by the waiter at the diner, which I thought was going to lead to something, and no, it didn't really have anything to do with anything
I don't
else.
want my diner messed up.
I guess that was it.
I also love how they're like, you don't need to sit with this loser. I'm like, you don't need loser.
Yeah, we all looked at each other for a second and went, they can't say what those boys meant on this network.
You didn't mean loser at all. Yeah.
But for somebody whose boyfriend disappeared, I mean, Betty was not sulking for very long.
Well, let's for a second talk about how, yes, Betty seemed very, very nice and pleasantly not racist, if a little unsure at first how to deal with Jax. But, your boyfriend was killed by hawk monsters, as far as you know, in front of you, more or less. The next day, you're like, it's new, exciting person. And then the day after that, hey, boyfriend's back.
There could be the chance that she was a little bit racist in that way that there was that way that she jumped so fast because she was really fetishizing Jax and not so much the other. I'm just saying that's another side of it. Ooh, tense.
Right.
It's like, I mean, and then I started going like, I feel like the last time. Now we have seen the French fry in the milkshake trick as an icebreaker in this universe before with
Laurel and Nyssa.
And
Nyssa.
Oh.
So maybe it's like maybe something maybe have something.
I think it's just the writers' room for both of these are just like they're eating
just
shakes and.
I really hope at the end of the season, like if we get a montage and we see like everywhere they've been and everywhere they may be going and where are they now, I hope we cut back to Betty in the 50s at the diner just sadly doing it alone and like, dropping it.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting with these with both Sarah and Jax at the end of the episode, they allude to the people that they've been involved with that episode. They're like, I mean, maybe we'll see each other again. So I'm wondering, like, and for both of them to throw that out, it seems
they're
kind of...
all gonna have the scene from Winter Soldier where Cap visits old Peggy, and old Betty's gonna be like, Jax,
will you feed me one last French fry? And then she dies.
I started a company called McDonald's while you were gone because I loved you so much and the fries.
And that changed history.
Yes.
There was no McDonald's until Jax.
Jax.
Actually, no. She started Jack in the Box as a reference to Jax.
Yeah, there you go. And then we'll just name check Rory and Rip. I'm sorry, Stein. Excuse me.
Who?
Not Rory.
There are a lot of characters on the show.
Snart.
Mick, Snart, and Rip being FBI agents, which really kind of went nowhere in that episode.
I know.
It did, which again is I'm going. I like Lacretia. I agree. Like that was a really fun scene where they first show up in that disguise, and then it doesn't go anywhere. And instead, like later, like I was saying, Ray and Rip are dressed like loony. That's the term they use. Very non-PC, but loony bin patients. Why? Why not just continue the FBI shtick?
Yeah, especially since I thought they were going to go down the road of making fun of those 50s horror movies or kind of alien movies by making like Men in Black type characters that kind of come in and you feel like they're like a Fringe type thing, but. No, they didn't do it right away. It was nice to see Rip not just have a British accent, though. I've said this before, but I like that he was... I hate it when there's, like, a British actor that just, like, keeps the British accent, being like, I definitely work for the American government. That was my British accent, by the way. It sounds a lot like the German one. I definitely work for the...
Like, in Dave's mind, all of Europe is just like this big, gray, splotchy thing.
They just... that's pretty much it.
Well, we see Ray finally getting his act together, though, because when he is in Savage's little secret office there, he does find the knife, the dagger that we've all been wondering where it's been. He finds it back in the past since it hasn't been used yet by any of the team, and he takes it.
Yes.
And he brings it back over to the wave rider, and they're like, hey, look at this, I got the knife. That's going to kind of change our plan. Rip says, like, oh, we got to do a full-out assault on Savage now.
Yeah.
And Kendra says, no. That's if he sees that coming, he's going to really gear up. So why don't we do what he least expects? He has an interest in me. I'll just go by myself. And which, of course, Ray just like, what? No,
but you're a woman.
Yes.
Can we talk about the fact that every time someone on the show says, why don't we do what he least expects, they follow it up with the worst plan possible?
Yeah. And it's always a plan he expects. Like whenever they say he won't expect this. But
he's always expecting everything.
Yeah, I'm also wondering why Vandal Savage keeps that knife around. If that's the one knife that
could kill him,
could kill him.
But it can also kill the Hawks too, right?
Right. So he uses it too. That's right.
Because it involves all three of them since they're all exposed to that same meteorite.
It's his life juice straw.
Yes.
Well, he's kind of like a serial killer keeping this relic, for Kendra or whatever he wants to call her that week. Well,
and also too, like Kendra's logic when Ray says maybe you shouldn't go over there by yourself. Her logic is he's not going to kill. What is it? He's not going to kill me. But is it canapes?
I don't know.
Canapes?
Oh, while we're eating canapes,
He's not going to kill me right there. And I'm going, did we all just forget who Vandal Savage is?
Yeah.
That's actually his whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing we always know as a constant about Vandal Savage is he will kill you anywhere.
Yeah. And he has no qualms, I'm sure, killing her right there and then killing everybody else at that party. No problem.
He just hits the button and lets out the Hawk monsters.
Yeah. So we do find out, speaking of the Hawk monsters, that the meteorite that they found has nth metal properties, which I guess in this universe, that every meteorite that has some nth metal in it has different effects on the people that are exposed to it.
By the way, like no matter what this episode, like whatever nitpicks that I could possibly have with tonight's episode, Victor Garber saying nth metal on television makes up for all of it and then some.
Yeah, I don't know. That seems kind of, and I don't know if that's established in comics where nth metals had different effects on other people. I've always seemed like it had the same similar effects, but I guess at least, correct me if I'm wrong, internet, I'm sure you guys, if you guys know differently, but I always felt like the nth metal had the same effects for everybody. But anyway, they find this, and they what Vandal Savage has been doing, he's been testing it on people. That's what he's done with Tommy and his buddies, and he does that to Jax as well.
Right.
Turns into some weird hawk vampire dude or something.
Yeah, I kind of wanted them to burn that hawk monster out of him. Like, I wanted him to become Firestorm and be this, like, kind of flaming bird monster for a second until it, like, goes away.
Yeah, I thought that might be the case, too. Yeah, why
Wouldn't that
not?
be cool? Probably money-wise. They probably didn't have the budget for
that's
that.
why we haven't seen Firestorm in a few episodes. It's budgetary, because the reasons for that are just
So,
killing me.
are you reacting to the same thing? We're at the very end when...
This is
spoilers,
the big problem for me.
where Kronos shows up. We're jumping ahead a little bit. We'll come back. But when Kronos shows up and is all of a sudden just on the ship, and they say, you know, we can't, if we become Firestorm in here, we could blow up the Wave Rider.
It's like, since when?
Yeah.
We've seen you guys combined everywhere before, and it's not some kind of huge explosion of energy when that happens.
It's a shiny hug.
Yes.
I feel like you might as well have had Victor Garber look at the camera and say, well, Jackson, production design in this episode was very, very pricey, and we're blowing the rest of our effects budget on the ship.
We also didn't figure out a way for you to be not next to me during this scene.
Like,
So we have to
I
explain
really wanted like Jax to like go for Stein's hand, and Martin goes, no, not this week.
So before we dive back
blew
into
the budget
whole,
on the bird monsters.
we dive back into that. We'll just wrap up real quick with the finale of these guys. The Vandal Savage, of course, is onto Kendra's game. She can't really succeed with her little plan of seducing him and then pulling the knife out of the purse. Somehow Savage is quicker than her, sleight of hand, is able to unzip that purse and get the dagger up without Kendra even noticing what's going on.
Well, this is the other thing that really bothers me, since we're here now where the plan falls apart. I totally get in the moment when all of a sudden it's now Kendra's life is very much in jeopardy. You have to act very quickly to get Savage out of the way and save her. I totally get it. Snart, so far, seems to be the most consistently intelligent person on this team, and yet he fires his weapon at Vandal Savage, which thrust Vandal Savage right out the window.
That's
Was that
actually
right?
Ray
That was
is
right.
right.
I'm sorry, because I saw the blue thing.
Yeah, it was a blue burst.
This actually makes more sense then, that Ray would do that.
Yeah.
So Ray thinking even less than ordinarily, fires somebody does it. Somebody fires the thing at Vandal Savage. Vandal Savage goes out the window, and we're back where we always are.
I know. It's frustrating because we wasted time with these terrible scenes of them role-playing as nurse, patient, and orderly. Like, why isn't everybody just stationed right outside that office?
Or just like,
waiting?
hey, cover's blown, let's attack him.
Yes.
Let's go. I mean, they do have bird jacks to kind of get rid of, because they do have to cure bird jacks, but there's no real time restraint there. They just have to make sure he's like passed out or something.
But it's only because if they had all attacked Savage, he may not have been able to trip the alarm, which freed all the hawk monsters.
Right. Well, but he freed all the hawk monsters when he still had like Kendra by the throat.
But if they'd all been stationed right outside and ready just to jump in, or Ray
even
had been
Ray
small,
was in the tiny, it was in the room and just appeared and held him. Yeah.
But it's like
then
they keep either killing him in a way that doesn't help them, or doing what they did tonight, which is essentially now he's out of the room. So now even if he's alive, he can get away.
Yeah.
So like, why don't you just in that moment, instead of blasting him with energy and flinging him that way, why don't you just pick up a lamp and throw it at his head? And in the second where he goes, ow, you tackle him.
Is this Dave Chappelle here? You know, that's who we need to hit someone with a lamp.
I think this shows how tough it is to do a show where the main story is go after one person, and it's just one person that doesn't really is always in a different location, always in a different place, isn't plotting behind the scenes so much, because I think they've been fighting him face first since the very first episode. And when you look at Buffy, for instance, you would have the master vampire that they're trying to fight, but usually every episode is some sort of freak of the week monster that character sends after them. But in this one, they're fighting the master vampire every single week, so every single episode has to end with the master vampire running away.
Well, it's every single week. There does seem to be a bit of a pattern, though. They're fighting Vandal Savage, team drama, then they're back to fighting Vandal Savage.
Right.
But they still, exactly. Structurally, they don't have mini bosses for Vandal Savage to throw at them.
Well, and it was like set up that they're all kind of like rejects, but I didn't realize they were all going to just have terrible plans, except for Leonard. I mean, the thing is, he's like sucks being right all the time. Well, let's just start listening to him, because he's clearly the smartest person on the
seriously,
show.
why is Snart not in charge?
I mean, Ray's just there to
I
be
don't think
cute.
he wants to be in charge.
That's a good thing. And that's the only reason is like he won't, which is exactly why, by the way, he should be in charge.
He's the reluctant leader. Rip sucks. He's a leader.
So we wrap up the episode. We unfortunately don't contain Vandal, so he's off on the loose there. Kendra, Ray, and Sarah are saying their goodbyes to the house and to their little little dalliance there, while the rest of the guys are on the Wave Rider, and Kronos attacks.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Breaks into the ship really fast.
Really fast.
And for some reason, the ship takes off and leaves the three of them stranded back in 1958.
Yeah. At least we didn't have White Canary saying it's not a question of why they left us, but when they left us. I was really worried she was going to say something like that. That was
and I will say, as frustrated as I was, and not with Kronos showing up out of nowhere, because he's also a time traveler, that's going to happen, it's how quickly he was just on the bridge of the ship, out of nowhere.
Right.
But it is in keeping with this universe's weird lack of security in the stronghold for the heroes, like how Malcolm Merlin can just waltz into the Arrow Cave every day, and how it seems like just
fantastic.
about...
It's okay.
Like there's not, I don't even think there's a door on Star Labs. So
I think
it got blown off.
Yeah, it would just be so much better if there was at least a half an episode or part of an episode that gave some backstory to Kronos. So
I think that's what's is going to be the next episode.
I hope so, because 8 episodes in and we don't really know anything.
Right.
How about one line? He doesn't need doors.
I think, well, if we're following a pattern here, we get like Savage on, Savage off, Savage on, Savage off. So the next one's going to be Savage off.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a Time Masters Kronos episode where they're fighting both of those guys. We'll probably get some Drews action, maybe. I don't know. Is Drew still alive?
I think he's still out there, being all bureaucratic and nasty.
That's true, yeah. Time Master Drew.
Trying to get Pym particles for Hydra.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, by the way, Frank, I want to thank you for joining us in the DC universe. Because people should know that he is an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Shh, guys, a covert operation there.
Yeah, well, maybe it shouldn't be online.
Right.
And we shouldn't see your face during a commercial for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. if you're really being covert.
That's true. I guess
congrats on that.
Yeah, my identity's been blown. Yes, you can follow me on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for the digital series for the next few weeks there, as I am recruited by Agent Coulson to become a member of S.H.I.E.L.D.
And it looks like he jumps out of a plane.
Who knows?
There's a little clip of it. We see you jumping out of a plane. It's pretty incredible.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, there you go. So, guys, real quick, we'll do a quick round of predictions before we get out of here.
Well, I gave my prediction. I think it's going to be a Kronos episode after we come back in, like, what is it, 2 weeks?
3 weeks.
3 weeks?
We're back on the 31st, I believe.
Okay,
Yes.
so I'm going to miss all of you, but we're going to be fighting some Time Masters, fighting some Kronos. I think we're going to find out who's under Kronos, and I think you're right. It's probably going to be either Rory or Hawkman or someone.
Yeah, definitely one of the two that's not there.
Right.
I'm going for Mick just because it'd be cooler, but
Yeah.
I was kind of done with Connor.
Oh, interesting. All right. Lex, do you have any predictions?
I think if they're stranded without the Wave Rider, without most of their team in the late 1950s, they're going to need someone they can go to, somebody who, if not is an ally, somebody that is a stabilizing force, somebody that may have their back. There is at least one person that exists in this world who is semi-immortal that is an acquaintance of Sarah Lance who may be alive in 1958.
Oh,
Ra's
and
al
Sarah's
Ghul.
with them.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Go see Ra's al Ghul, guys.
So I think there may be a little Demon's Head action.
That makes sense. Part of me would
Demon's
like
Head
to hope that in the late 50s, the Justice Society, if they existed in this DC TV universe, were hiding because of all the Warren Commission stuff like that. So they kind of abandoned their superheroic identities. It'd be cool if they came across like Rex Tyler, Our Man, or Al Pratt, the original Adam, to hiding just like just kind of not really being super heroic anymore. But
Right.
Yeah, or if they hadn't already done Jay Garrick on The Flash, like that would have been really good.
Yeah.
I would like to see some Dr.
Yeah.
Fate action. That would be cool.
oh,
Because
yes.
that's a pretty easy costume, too. Just get the helmet, and then you're set.
That's true, and we've established it on Constantine, so it is in this universe.
Yeah.
We don't have to go to Earth 2 to find that. Yeah, all right, guys. So that's going to bring us to a close for this episode of DC's Legends of Tomorrow. We're going to be off until March 31st when the show comes back there. But in the meantime, let's continue the conversation on Twitter there. You can fact check my spelling,
Don't
my
fact check
grammar.
it.
Don't
fact
Dave
check.
loves
Don't
getting
do
fact
that.
checked, guys.
I
Dave insists on being
You
fact
know what?
checked.
I'll keep it easy for you. I'm fat. Check. All right, there you go. No, I am. It's okay. It's who I am.
In the meantime, Lacretia, where can they find you?
Well, yeah, and I might actually say my name. I'm Lacretia Lyon, and you can find me if you can spell it LACRETIALYON. There's only one, so find me anywhere.
Okay, I'm Mr. Dave Child, MrDaveChild on Twitter, Instagram, and DaveChild.com.
And I am Lex Michael, all over social media at the Lex Michael. And because I'm not sure how litigious the Red Bull Corporation is, as far as we know, drinking none of their products will turn you into yes, if you don't drink Red Bull, you will turn into a hawk monster. Call us Red Bull.
Red Bull.
I think you just gotta say allegedly, and then we're all fine. So allegedly, guys, it doesn't happen. Who knows? You can follow me on Twitter at HappyGoJackie. We'll see you in 3 weeks with a new episode of Legends of Tomorrow. See you next time, guys.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Fedak, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
Bye. The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.